40, Barber Shop Podcast, episode 40, from Boxo Studio in Hamilton, Ontario. I am your humble host, Kevin Barber, and Ryan, the producer, engineer, all man about town. Happy to be here, Ryan.
Me too.
Doing a bang-up job.
Thank you. Everything's working this week.
Everything's working, and we started
so
at 8
far.
o'clock.
So far, yeah.
We're going live on Justin TV. That's justin.tv/barbershop podcast.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah, it's a barrel of monkeys, I tell you, live TV. And we've got a lot of enjoyment headed your way tonight because we have one of the most interesting cats, in town. He's got the credential and the resume to back it up. If you've been around anywhere, Mr. Chris Houston. Chris Houston, working over at Picks and Sticks, giving instructions and helping people out, but long musical history, and continues to record some of the best stuff that I've heard in a long time. We've got a long storied history, and I'm really happy to have you on this show, Chris. Thanks for coming by.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah,
it's a lot better than cable TV.
you can smoke and you can swear.
Yeah, but you still get the same buzz.
Pretty well with the bus fumes coming up and down. So, a question I ask people pretty regular on the show is how they came up in music. What influence did music have early on in your life, or was it something that was just basically triggered by hormones when you were in high school?
No, it was always from day one. I wanted to play music, and very inept the first 20 years, and so I started playing guitar when I was about 5 or 6, and then don't think I could play a chord till I was about maybe 14 or 15, and my first gig was in the band shell at Gage Park right down there.
That's not a bad first gig.
Yes, and we were supposed to have this celebrity show up, John Monroe, but he never showed up. And I was very disappointed. And my mother used to come up to us after rehearsals and say, "You have to admit that your singer has absolutely no talent."
Your mom was interested in that very early on.
It was horrible.
So, at what point did you have your first band? A lot of times it's 12 or 13 years old, or were you already putting together things? Because
I think possibly the first bands would be Middle Class Noise with poet Dan Jones. And then I played with Sandor Eisenstadt and Marty Timmons in a band called Rich and Bored. And then I joined the Rebels, I think when I was 16. So
so tell me about the neighborhood that you grew up in, because it was pretty intense. It was a very rich in musical talent in that period.
It was weird. I mean, I went to high school with Teenage Head, so they dressed like the New York Dolls with platform running shoes. And I was in grade 9, going, "Wow, people walk around like Circus Magazine and stuff like that," And then being around the birth of that was pretty cool. But all different aspects in Hamilton. You go to a music store, it'd be like one of Ronnie Hawkins' guitar players hanging out playing or whatever. It was I was very privileged, and also being able to go over to Saucer House and hang out on weekends. Unlimited booze, drugs, and they write a great album every week. So those are things that I don't know, it doesn't happen anymore, but boy, when you're a little kid, it's like, this is the coolest, So that my fate was sealed at that point.
It was part of the culture more so than anything. That was an identifiable thing about who you were at that age, putting together the passions and the ideas.
Well, also too, there was the record store culture because everybody hung out at Star Records, so everybody congregated through there, and at that point, there was an established rock establishment, but a lot of people didn't fit into it, so it was kind of a birth of another underground movement. So it was fun,
So when you were 16 and you got the call for the Rebels, how did you view that music? What, in your mind, was it just rock and roll, and that's as much as you were defining it as someone coming in at that point?
It's punk rock.
Punk
rock.
Yeah.
The punk stuff, there's a real dividing field, and The Rebels, I mean, I first played in the Rebels, I played drums. And I played the record release for Tomorrow Belongs to Us, because Pete Latimer was out of the band at that point, Pete Treason. And then later I came back and played bass. So, but I was really young. Like, I'd borrow the Westdale School drum kit, cut myself, bleed all over it, then return it. And then when I went to my high school reunion, I could still see the blood on this side.
Nicely done.
Apparently they got brand new skins after I told it to them.
So that degree of fearlessness is obviously a big part of what you were doing, you know, to not be scared to try anything.
Yeah, I think, you know, there was definitely a fearlessness, and you had to be. And you look at the people like, you know, Mickey or Frank or Edgar Bro. They're fearless people. You know, that's the way they were. And it was this it's very weird to be accepted. Yeah. You know, I still remember being the most disgusting thing ever out of Hamilton. You know, that was good. You know, now we've been overtaken by the Stabber, you know, Jack Cafe. Have you read his Facebook page?
No, I have not read his Facebook page.
Wits of Wisdom.
It enlightened us to a few choice cherries. You get to see it every day in this town, though, and as someone who likes to write, you're probably constantly inspired by what you see around you in the streets here in Hamilton.
Totally. And like, real record should be just walking around listening to conversation. The rule is, if you're walking regularly and then you hear conversation when it comes in and out, if you just use the William Burroughs cut-up method of those little bits of spoken word, you can come up with some really great stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is an interesting place. It's not as bad as Hastings Street, but I don't know. Lately, the wheelchair people of Lloyd D. Jackson Square are very interesting.
Yeah, I think a reality show based on that would be, you know, something that
sad.
Everyone identify with. There has to be a common feature with, you know, perhaps you sponsor the chairs half are blue and half are red, you know, and be able to track them, you know. The period when you were playing with the Rebels and after the Rebels, you seemed like you were like productive like the whole time as someone who was a solo artist. So has that been the case, or have you had like down periods where you
there was periods, you know, long drug addiction periods, but now I've always been working, and one of the things I learned early on is that when you're in a band like the Rebels, you're identified with Mickey, so second you leave that band, you draw nobody, you know what I mean? And so that it's best to establish yourself as a solo artist so that whoever you play with, then if they come or go, it doesn't disrupt that element. And because I could go on stage in front of large audiences solo and hold them, the backline did not have to be adjusted. They loved me. Not for my music, because I held them for 45 minutes, and I'd have like 2 microphones on the front of the stage. So I did a lot of shows in Vancouver with big artists, you know, doing solo stuff. So you learn to get good. You have to be good. And I think that, you know, you want to go out and see really great performers that blow you away, to learn from them. When a band's bad, you make notes what not to do on stage. Yeah. And now I have the luxury, because I teach music, so you have to analytically convey that to people. And so, you know, you get a bit obsessive about it, but it's okay, you know.
Is it tough for you not to look at the music business like a butcher looks at a side of beef and get very clinical and analytical about it? Does the passion still grab you, or is it something you got to search for?
Well, I think the business is weird because, you know, when I was a young man, record deals, you got $100,000 up front, you got a tour bus, you had a video budget.
That stuff really happened, or
fucking
was it just
man.
In movies?
Yeah, no, I mean that's you know. So then each year got down a little bit less, but when I grew up playing outside music that was never going to be popular, it was kind of purposely done to be so out there, you know, as and then that became hip. which is awesome.
Awesome.
But
did you see that coming when you started actually getting radio play?
Yeah. I mean, that was weird. But it was like 10, 20 years after, you going, come on, play me on the radio. So, but, and as time goes on, it seems to, I don't know, get whatever more popular, which is awesome. I'm still alive, I'm still working, and but it's weird being 52 years old, and among your most famous work was done when you were 16. But what the heck,
Yeah. How did you find the media at the time? Were they embracing you and saying, "Hey, here's someone who's clearly a creative driving force," or is it someone who constantly wanted to pigeonhole you and you had to battle that?
Well, I have to say that Doreen Pitt-Keithley, she wrote some very nice pieces on the Rebels and the Spectator, and was kind of understanding, and we got a couple negative reviews, like in the McMaster paper, but either we are completely blackballed from existence, but the little bits we got was very sympathetic. It's kind of like the same people today that would do the good article.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're paid as a writer and you research it and you learn how to construct sentences and distill things, it's very different from blog postings, and it reads, it makes sense. So that was in the heyday when they had real rock writers,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that. And also, Amon's Crummins from day one, because he had the show on McMaster, so we could go on there and do anything we wanted.
Right.
And that was good, and then I remember once trying to be as obnoxious as possible on Amon's show. And then my English teacher the next day is going, "Hey, I heard you on the radio."
And your jaw drops. Yeah, not expecting that. Oh, for Christ's sake. That jump from doing things yourself to other people doing it, was it gradual or did it happen all at once? I'm thinking about yourself selling, you seem like somebody who would enjoy marketing your band and getting into the aspect of getting gigs and making this a realistic thing, to the point there where you had people who were paid to do this sort of thing.
Well, there is nothing better being underage bankrupting bars. It is fabulous. It is a good thing to do. It became boring once I was legally be able to do that. We had a draw, so at that point, you could kind of cut. If people were going to pay at the door to see you and fill the room, they took care of you,
Yeah.
So, we were making $100, $200 a night each. That's when I was in high school.
Yeah. And inflation adjusted, what would you put that at?
1,000.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fucked up,
Yeah.
But we were in the right place at the right time, and the Rebels went through a lot of different permutations before I got in the band, and there's some pretty magical bands too,
Yeah.
but it was really nutty and some points musical, kind of suspect, but delightful. And the original band with Tony and Angela Madalena, I think it's on the Burn the Flag stuff, some of their stuff, they're great. They're really, nobody knows about them, but when you hear it, they really kick. I'm still recording with Mickey, and he's always been a great guitar player and a really great singer, and getting better with age every day. He blows me away how good he is,
Yeah. I've been absolutely thrilled every time I watched him, because he doesn't phone it in. He does it exactly, like he's did it when he was 19, 20 years old. He's that confident, that sexy, that in your face. But I imagine that there's probably a lot of things that haven't made it to tape, that you probably wish.
Yeah, I know. It's different now that every time you step out, you got a cell phone on you, or where a lot of the big musical moments, some are videotaped, but it was, it's all for the better. I mean, it's like awesome. We can be in your basement and around the world on the internet.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
Isn't that?
Playtime has gotten way better now.
Way better. Someone in Germany or someone right there in Austro-Hungary. Oh, that's a World War I map. I'm sorry. But, can download this show, can listen to some music. Getting to music, I want to play some tunes. You brought in some stuff that hasn't been heard or has been rarely heard, and you brought in our first 45. We got stories about all this music, but the first piece that we got lined up is The Right Stuff. Tell me about this song.
Well, I was working with Gord Lewis, and we decided that he wanted to do Robert Calvert songs when he was writing for a group called Hawkwind. And I really liked this song, Right Stuff, and we did a nice arrangement of it. Kind of seems to be influenced by the Idiot area Iggy Pop stuff. And Gord plays guitar and sings simultaneously. It's a dual vocal with me. And then Michael Funfair is playing piano, and Jack Pedler's playing drums, and Joe Maviti's doing rhythm. So it's a pretty slick track.
Pretty slick band too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's heavy. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, we should play it.
And plows, and we can all be the judge of how good it is. All right, on Barber Shop Podcast, it's The Right Stuff.
My reflexes and reactions are
certainly think that's the right stuff.
Yeah,
That's very Hamilton. You know, that is rock and roll straight up. But how would you describe the Hamilton sound as it pertains to that kind of MC5 New York Dolls?
Detroit. More Detroit than New York.
Yeah.
That's when, back in the day, you know, we always said more Detroit because you think Stooges, MC5, you know, and even in the early days, Destroy All Monsters, you know, those guys rocked heavy, you know.
Yeah. And still to get to, you know, when Gord was running the songbook, and you had a bunch of young guys too who came out, it was great to see young people still like totally loving that kind of music, that style.
How can you not? Like, if you got a set of ears, I mean, how can you not? Like, and everybody, when it comes to like this style of music, 'cause I've traveled, you know, they talk about the Hamilton sound in these bands, you know, and because it's good music, you know, and we come from the city that, you know, years ago, Harold Jenkins was playing here before he was Conway Twitty.
Mm-hmm.
He brought that sound up here. You know, I've talked to people that were in the audience that night, and they wanted to throw them out of the bar. Dallas Arms got all his buddies to come down, and so they'd sell enough beer, and then all the bar tenders wanted to fire them. And Dallas Arms basically saved rock and roll for Hamilton. And then he told Ronnie Hawkins to come up here. And this is the city that Conway Twitty always says every time he sings it, in the beautiful city of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I wrote this song called It's Only Make Believe.
Yeah, and it's a great story, and there's a lot of other ones associated with this town. And Ryan and I went to a meeting tonight that was focused on, you know, municipal involvement, funding for the arts and music specifically, and that was covered, the heritage that Hamilton offered. But if I was to put to you, as someone who's been, you know, intimately involved with the industry or the scene or whatever word you want to use, what does it need to get a wider audience, you know, and if it was given a wider audience, would it resonate?
Well, it does. It really helps when you have like a very charismatic, like hot band or artist out of the city, because it's the Seattle effect or whatever, you know. Okay, who else is here? And we're going to sign them up. And it helps when you have like other people that are your peers kind of operating at the same level as you are. But saying that, it's just there's so much good stuff in this city, and you know, I worked for decades doing different, so you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
You get better every year and refine it, and maybe people like it, but the whole process, you just got to enjoy the process of doing it. The other stuff is it's nice when it works out, but sometimes it doesn't, and like, who cares, you know? As Jack Pedler says, I'm glad I wasn't famous because they're all really weird. Weird.
Who better than Jack? Tell me about the session. We want to play a couple things from this. Sounds like a great session, and how you guys got together for just specifically, we're meeting here where you recorded it, how it went down, how quickly it went down, and...
well, this session, I think, because we have Scoring with Elvis queued up next.
Yeah.
Well, I was compiling all my archives, and I've had the luxury of going to very nice studios and do stuff with famous people. So I was trying to make some coherent thing of it, you know, going through songs and stuff. And I wanted to do some new songs because they're all old songs. And so I cut a few songs, and this was with... the next track is like, it's Jack Pedler on drums, I'm playing bass, and Joe Mavidi is playing guitar, and it's a song that Joe wrote with Ben Briley that Marianne Faithfull used to do, but the record label wanted nothing to do with it because it was too drug orientated and
not subtly either.
No, it's great. It's like, like, I mean, it's like, I know for a fact, like, we're talking shopping bags full of substances.
So, Scoring with Elvis.
when I met Joe Mavidi in Vancouver, he made a live thing, and this song was on it. And I was really, because I had after the Rebels, I had this Elvis fixation, and my early hit was called Baby Jesus Looks Like Elvis. And then I had the Church of the Fallen Elvis with William New, which spawned this thing called Elvis Monday. And we had a philosophy that we read the last Elvis book while he was alive called Elvis, What Happened, that detailed all his drug addiction, and we tried to live that way. So we just wanted to do pharmaceuticals and eat cheeseburgers all the time. Didn't realize you got constipated if you did that. But it was fun.
How long did it last? This long enough, right?
Still going in Toronto?
Yeah.
At the Drake Hotel.
At the Drake Hotel. It's a Tuesday now, though, isn't it? I think.
I don't know. I mean, I could go play it, but it's too much rigmarole. Yeah. I mean, William asked me to do it, but I got drunk and forgot.
It still has quite a great reputation. People really are honored when they play that. It's not an easy gig to get necessarily.
Oh no! I'm a co-founder. I can get in there. Yeah.
You laid the carpet. You laid the carpet. All right. So this is Scoring with Elvis. Something from Chris Houston. Something that you're not going to hear just anywhere, and it's a treat for your ears right here at barbershoppodcast.com.
It's damp and it's raining. The wall has caved in, and I'm scoring with Elvis on the bad side of town. New York's a movie of the nightmare life, and I'm scoring with Elvis at midnight. Can we make a connection? We've been searching this town. Elvis and me, we've been hanging around. Oh no, don't wanna come down. Won't you listen to me? So a man says to Elvis, I can fix you boys up. It'll just take 1 hour and $500. Elvis smiles and he says, mighty grateful, sir. What you got is what I need to make my blues disappear. And we make a connection. We've been searching this town. Elvis and me, we've been hanging around. Oh no, don't wanna come down. Won't you listen to me? just take 1 hour, $500. Elvis smiles and he says, mighty grateful, sir. What you got is what I need to make my blues disappear. And we make a connection. We've been searching this town. Elvis and me, we've been hanging around. Oh no, don't wanna come down. Won't you listen to me? We really got a score.
I have a confession that I was listening. I don't know what I was doing, but I had the blues channel on from the Bell 5, and in 2 different songs there was like a soaring Hammond. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking, you know what? I just, love that way that it cradles a tune and can be used in so many different styles of music. And that particular sound, you find. When you write, do you orchestrate in your head, or do you just write off the bass? You write off a guitar?
Oh, well, I wrote the bass line for that, and when I came in with the bass line, I knew I was playing with ringers. Yeah. So, since Joe wrote the song, Michael was in on it. Michael kind of moved in and did the arrangement on it. Yeah. And Michael's very close to Joe Mavidi, and he loves this song, so he really went to a special place when he did the solo on it. It's one of the reasons I picked it, because it really is like, holy smokes, like that's, he's considered the best Hammond player in Canada. He currently works for the Downchild Blues Band organization.
That'll do it. They got to play with us once, eh, Ryan? Yeah. Lou booked us in the old Cork Down day.
Yeah, they got to play with us. Yeah. That's what it was.
It was the first and one of the only times you had someone who actually, room full of people who paid for music, to come out specifically see the goddamn Downchild Blues Band.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you see that kind of level of professionalism.
Yeah.
They were awesome. They were incredible.
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, and to be able to do it, it's not easy.
It's kind of amazing how long they've been at it, and also how intense they are. There's a reason why they're popular, and they all are very active about music and searching out and being better, so it's kind of cool. So, yeah, no, it's just fun. Later on, we're going to play some stuff with the same band, but where we do free jazz. It's very heavy.
Now, were these all recorded in the same basic space of time, or were they things that you came back and revisited?
Well, in the case of the last 2 tracks that we have played, that was new stuff from ground up. Then I had a lot of tapes and things that were kind of unfinished. Some stuff was done with drum machine, so I had Jack Pedler play on top of it. Some stuff, I had Michael play keyboards on it because he's really good.
He's really good.
And he made it like a Joe. So it's kind of like, all of a sudden, like, it took this like LA, like very slick sheen, but in a good way. Yeah. But when you're expecting people to listen to stuff, you want to bring the best people you can that will embellish it and make it, sound good.
And what about playing live? Is that still something that you just absolutely have to do, or is that kind of necessary evil for you to some extent?
Well, I was saying to the kids at the only outdoor patio of this St. Hollywood, at any moment you could be called to be on stage. And they're looking at me, you're so full of yourself. And 3 minutes later, go on stage now.
See?
Sometimes they let you pee, sometimes they don't.
And you have to be flexible, literally, right?
It's a lot better than not being asked. It's a privilege to be able to do this stuff. And I just find that gigs, if you're going to do a gig properly, like my next gig is the Lock Street Festival, Saturday, September 7th.
Yeah, talk about that. It's an interesting concept that's going this year.
Yeah, well, I'm playing at 5 o'clock. Matt Paxton's playing. Illusion Avenue's playing. I think the abbreviations, and we got our music camp kids playing. That's always entertaining. And then there's going to be 3 stages. Judy Marcel's having her own stage. Then Brandon's having a stage, I think, with Tommy Swick and Jesse O'Brien. And it's just, they're going to have the roller girls go around and hand out brochures. It's going to be a great show.
How many years is this it's been going on?
I don't know. I was going when I was in Vancouver, and then I came home, and it was like weird seeing old people wear New York Dolls t-shirts. Like, oh, I'm back in Hamilton. Wow.
Yeah. Are you surprised? Because it seems history has treated, that punk rock generation kindly. There's a period there where I think it was overlooked or people weren't really giving it, whereas something like today disco is still not really embraced. I'm seeing a lot more acceptance.
That's changing. Yeah. I mean, and it's also too because when you hear the great disco tracks, they are works of art.
Yeah.
And it is also, and let's face it, when you were a kid, you went to the disco, you got laid. They were a good thing.
Yeah.
Like you just went there and there were horn palaces. Well, but within that genre, when you hear the early stuff, and it's like punk rock. Listen, not all punk rock records are good, but there's some fabulous disco. So Casey and the Sunshine Band, they kick. They really kick. And, the Ohio Players and some of that. There's just so much great stuff. Sister Sledge, But I think people, takes a while sometimes for some musical idioms. In 10 years, we'll talk about the golden age of gangster rap.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guilty pleasure involved, too, where people won't admit that it's something that was stuck in their head. And I think if a song was stuck in your head, it was a good song,
Well, it was a very different world then. First of all, is a song maybe silly, but people don't buy shit. They're well-crafted, well-thought-out things with people that were playing with their musical chops to have a good time. And that's the difference between that. And it's, with the good punk bands, they were proficient. They practiced, so whatever, I don't know. So shall we play a record here?
Yeah, this is what I want to talk about. I was kind of leading into the fact you play with a lot of interesting people, a lot of great players. And 2 of them that you play with in the Evelyn Dicks, something that you came up with and approached the girls about the idea of this band, or was the name just kind of hung on you?
One night I was having my homecoming gig at the Corktown. Mr. Molinaro put that together, and I was on stage and I was drunk, and I looked behind me and Laurie and Lynn were there, and I announced that here's my background singers, the Evelyn Dicks. And that's where it came from.
Right out of the blue.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then because of that utterance, we just recently played, and I think Top 10 asked us to open for the Lords tour, and I just heard their recent record, the Elvis Club, one song, and it's great. So we're going to be more active, and we're going to be playing some stuff in the Evelyn Dicks later on tonight.
But almost like right from the get-go, there was a really good sound, and you were received, quite well. I know that. Was it something that you saw as a serious musical vehicle right off the bat, or was it more of a something that was fun?
No, I always look at everything. Even if it's goofy, I'm serious about it. First of all, you got Laurie Yates, who's just an incredible talent.
Yeah.
And every time I do a gig with the Evelyn Dicks, I hear her voice come through the monitors, and I go, what the hell am I doing here? And she's a good friend. Right? It's like, oh my God. Yeah. And Lynn's fabulous. And, the writing sessions were very, very creative. And since we're in Hamilton, it was, okay, what weird's happening in Hamilton? Oh, Evelyn Dick. Okay, she's out there in Planet X, super hottie, Then you realize it's this poor kid in this twisted world with, the most fucked parents going. And her dad was something else. He really is a special human being. And reading that book and writing, because my original thing was that all songs for the Evelyn Dicks must come from the torso book. And then we couldn't write those, but
you allowed yourself a broader spectrum for writing, which fantastic story about Einstein's brain. Was that came from a bull session we were writing together, or was this?
No, this is the first thing we did, and this is how the band kind of came together. I came home, I read The Spectator one day, and there's this big pull-out article in Einstein's brain being in Hamilton. I think I was playing like open stages and stuff, and just started, riffing on that song, and realized it got a good response. And then they decided, because they never really had done background singing, to sing with me. And then when we cut the song, we had them do that. And then after that, the band really got together, because this is initial session. And then after that, the actual Evelyn Dicks formed. And I'm very blessed to be able to play with these people and be part of it.
And lo and behold, Mr. Ryan Cannon had a very big hand in the whole thing.
Yes.
What are your recollections of the session?
Oh, I have good recollections.
The fact you even have recollections shows me that you were serious about business that day.
Yeah.
It was good. But anytime, first of all, I think it was the first time I really got to jam with Mickey when I got home from Vancouver, so that was a big thing for me. And Ryan just facilitated getting this track down. Originally, he was doing a Hamilton compilation record.
Yep.
And so he said, come down and do some stuff. And, I kind of realized early on that it was a lot of work, what you're going to hear from how it was put together. Mm-hmm. But it was also, it was cool because, briefly on this, like Ryan just let us do what we wanted to do, and we all worked together. And the best part is, during all this hard work, he announced that he actually worked in the department that kept Einstein's brain. So I realized the Lord was with me, and he was been with me ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
Those were fun sessions, too.
And then Clevie coming down, because he said, there's no way the drummer from Blue Rodeo is going to show up here at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the moment he said that, Cleve pulled up in his car. Great rock and roll moment. So there's 3 Cleve Andersons stacked on this song.
Yeah.
And Cleve feels that this is the best recording he has ever played on.
So you've actually layered the drums, or you've cut and pasted the best sections?
Everything is cut and paste supreme. It is a series of Lego blocks. You make Mickey play for 20 minutes and take the last 20 seconds and loop it.
Yeah.
And that's when people talk about looping, you get into the groove. And as when you're recording, you can play the parts, but you really want to find where the pockets in the groove and stuff, and it makes everything sound bigger, makes the lyrics stand out, and gives it the boogie. And so this was really like a series of Lego blocks that went together really well, and it was everybody's hard work. And it's great to be here with Ryan tonight.
Yeah.
Because
this is the first time I've heard the final product, too.
And the first time you've had something on
vinyl. The first time, I've had anything I've recorded on vinyl. That's pretty awesome.
It's awesome indeed. And it's available where?
In a basement that used to be a crack factory, Schizophrenic Records headquarters, which is in Hammer City Records. They're very, very good people. Very good people.
James Street North and Robert, is it?
Yeah, and then you go to the back of the Classic Cafe.
And you'll be telling your grandkids, I bought this, I had to go around back in an alley. But the story of Einstein's brain, from the great little story that Graham Rockingham wrote about in The Spectator. For the people who don't know, we do in fact have a great piece of intelligence here in Hamilton in the form of Einstein's brain, which is
1/5 of it.
That's a big chunk.
It's the part that governs mathematics.
Oh.
And because the Einstein legacy is owned by the University of Jerusalem, which is very protective of Albert. In his brain, unlike the picture on the cover there, it can't be his brain, he had no groove. He was just solid. It was a small brain, but there's no groove in there. but my song does have a groove.
Does have a deep groove indeed. Well, we're going to drop the needle here at 45 RPM. You can
All
get
right,
yourself one of these
let's
if
bang
you're
this
lucky.
puppy up.
Let's hear it here at barbershoppodcast.com. Einstein's Brain from Hamilton, Ontario. Ooh, yeah.
Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. E equals MC squared. E equals MC squared.
Einstein's Brain is in Hamilton.
Yep.
Well, it's a sweet piece of recording. You mentioned that the fellow who
Thank you
mastered
to Ryan, man.
Yeah, Ryan doing the
Exactly.
recording, and the fellow who mastered it, you said, had like 70 years, was it?
Okay, when they were putting this out, I was working on my spiels and I was going through all my stuff, and I shut up and they said, the guy that mastered this record had 70 years experience mastering records. He had a mammoth coronary. He went back to work. The first thing he mastered was that song.
Well, that's excellent. So you're having a lot of fun playing with the Dicks. Tell me about some of the other songs, some of the other things that you've been working on.
We've got a lot of good songs, and we play so sporadically. We kind of like do high profile gigs. Thank you, Lou Molinaro. And
do the three you bring in songs, and you kind of go from the germ of that, or do you?
Yeah, we were we had I don't know, some decade ago, we had a big writing session, and there's a lot of classic songs are written. I think the next piece we're going to play is we went into Grant and cut a few songs, and then Lori wasn't happy with it, so I brought in the ringers, and it was kind of fun because she hadn't heard it in years and just flipped out like, wow, this has got a groove. And then I was doing a record with Harrison Kennedy, and I brought him in to play tambourine, and then he decided he was going to sing on it. So Lynn kept saying, he's singing your parts. Yeah, but he sings way better than me. This is something that I don't really believe I actually produce, but it's pretty slick and it's pretty cool, and it features the beautiful voice of Laurie Yates.
And
Buckshot BB.
And it's again another song about Evelyn Dicks.
Yeah,
and the people who don't know the Evelyn Dicks story, she was Hamilton's original dirty girl.
Yeah, she was like, if you're a young man with lots of money, you're going to rent Evelyn services, and she's going to rock your world. And you could just tell it'd be fun time with Evelyn. And so she had a pretty good phone book there, and as many gentlemen of leisure had her rock their world at the Royal Connaught Hotel.
And there was murder,
yes,
intrigue.
Well, I believe her dad did the killing, but it's all very, very twisted home life, and thus the little children playing found the body down off the staircase, and it had no head, no arms, no legs, but strangely enough, the penis still intact. And that started this giant circulation war. In 1946, after World War II, they ripped the doors off the courthouse just to get one look at her.
Yeah.
And she had the best line, "Give me a sexy prosecutor and I'll stare at him and have an orgasm. This chick is bad."
And this is Soiled Girl.
Yes.
From Barber Shop Podcast and the Evelyn Dicks.
Black widow kills as an afterthought. Tailored suits, lipstick of apricot. Anyone could love a girl. Anyone could love a girl. Anyone could love a girl. Soil girl, it's you. Baby, it's you. Blood was found on the driver's seat of the car. The Crown Attorney had a case that would make him a star. star. If anyone could love a girl, if anyone could love a girl, if anyone could love a girl, a soil girl, it's you. Baby, it's you. The city fathers are running scared. They're naming names how, when, and where. All done with precision and a good Black Widow kills as an afterthought. In the back room, giving it all that she's got. If anyone could love a girl, if anyone could love a girl, if anyone could love a girl, a soil girl, it's you. Baby, it's you. Baby, it's you. Oh, baby, it's you.
A little soil girl on barbershoppodcast.com. I can see why she fell back in love with that one. I think I remember you playing that in one of early Corktown.
Yeah, no, it's a great song. It's nice to get it down, so it's a pretty slick production. I don't know if I do say so myself.
No, it sounds fantastic.
So we're going to go to the psychotic music that I do best.
Yes.
I made this record called Psycho Blues with Evan Johns, and Evan was drinking very heavily and at one point was in a coma for a week and a half, but we finished the record and then he wasn't happy with it. So this is Evan's music and my lyrics on top of it, and then Mary Margaret O'Hara sings on it, and she does her best chicken impersonation, and it's about opening up for Elvis when you're a chicken on a hot plate.
And if you have a song called Chicken Style Prison,
Yes.
it's got to be about that exact subject matter.
And if you go down to this in Hollywood, when Melanie played, these ladies showed up. And they brought a picture of the one lady with Colonel Sanders and Melanie's old manager. And I believe it's behind the bar. I recommend drinking double vodkas and staring at it.
Chicken Style Prisons, right here, Barbershop Podcast. It's got to be like probably one of the greatest names for a song. It just did it pop out of your arse all of a sudden, or was this like, I'm going to write a song based on what you were seeing?
I don't know. It's a long time ago.
It escapes you the exact reason.
Yeah. Some form of psychosis I grabbed something from.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it at barbershoppodcast.com. Here you go.
I wanna curl,
everyone is staring at me in a cage on a hot plate. I'm in a chicken-style prison.
Chicken-style prison at barbershoppodcast.com.
It feels good to be in the basement.
It feels good to be in the basement.
You could get some chickens out back and make friends with your neighbors.
You've recorded so much. What makes a good song? Like, you know, and you like a lot of different genres. So how do you know, or do you know? Can you quantify?
Recording's easy. It's the song. Like, you have to have the meat to put in there. Like, you just don't go to the studio if you don't have the song.
Yeah.
Because you got, if you have a good track and it's got a good groove, they all get excited when they play behind it. So it's good. But if it's not there, then, you know, it's more mediocrity, and there's billions of songs out there that no one should have to listen to.
Yeah. How true. How true. So, you've done it, and you've had your hands on both sides of the panel. I mean, not as a performer, but you've done a lot of recording and engineering yourself. How has that whole gig changed? You obviously embraced the new digital technology and see the potential.
You have to.
And, you know, for 1,000 different reasons you have to. But you know, do you think that the fact that so much is available to so many so quickly and easily, is this the death knell, or is it? Well,
cream always rises to the top. You're only dealing with small amounts of stuff, but saying, you know, everywhere we have micro scenes now, you know, where you could just listen to Hamilton music and you'd be listening to good music, you know, and sometimes people break out of it, who knows, you know, but it's just one thing I want to say is that I try and do different projects rather than the same stuff all the time. I'll try something different, just as a learning experience, you know.
Right.
And you want to go into the land of the unknown, which is the next track. Lou asked me to open up for James Chance, and since I was a big Contortions fan, I thought this is my one opportunity to play fake jazz. So I rehearsed the band an hour before we went on stage.
And the band is?
Jack Pedler on drums.
Who's such an awesome drummer.
Yes, an awesome drummer, a great human being. Yeah. And he feels this is some of his best performances in his life is on this next track. And it's Michael Fonfara on keyboards and Joe Mavidi on guitar, and I'm playing bass. And basically, Jack and I rehearsed these grooves for an extended period of time. We set up drum machines, put them through delay units to create really bizarro African grooves, then learned them. And then we just played them, and those guys just embellished phenomenally on there. So this is my stab at kind of doing that Miles Davis stuff in the early 70s.
Live off the floor.
Yes, this is live on stage at This Ain't Hollywood, as recorded by Doug Smith, fabulous sound man. And mastered by Paul Remans, who mastered the Einstein's Brain.
And this is the Chris Houston Quartet.
Yes.
At barbershoppodcast.com.
Every day I get up and get high. Then I walk towards Lloyd D. Jackson Square. Because you have to go down there and see what people in wheelchairs are saying. If you walk by very quickly, you'll see that they are contemplating all sorts of things. And then you walk out front door there, and there are people that will sell you anything you need to make yourself real skinny and smell real bad. And if you get past them, you're gonna go stand on the corner where the sign says happiness is shout bingo, and you stare and you look at a Royal Canot Hotel. And way back when they proposed a mini Eiffel Tower next door as a Zeppelin terminal.
I think I was there. I was yelling.
Yeah. I was remembering, yeah.
That's my thing.
I think you might have went home and got the disc that it's recorded on.
But may have. I'm thrilled that you left the 7-inch vinyl with us. Ryan is actually going to frame up one of his.
And the flip side's called Shit for Brains. Because that's the reason I came out as a 45, because it's going, hey, wouldn't it be great? One side, Einstein's brain backed with shit for brains. That makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Well, you know what? As always, it's a real joy talking to you. Interesting, thrilling, insightful, and I'm glad that you shared some of your tunes and what you're doing these days. Check for Chris's links on the Barber Shop Podcast webpage, and if you see him playing anywhere with the Evelyn Dicks or by his lonesome self, come out, guaranteed to have a good time. Chris, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Joining us. It was a blast. Ryan?
Yep.
Didn't know that you'd be going home with some
Some vinyl.
Some vinyl tonight.
That's great. And nothing broke this week
And
either.
nothing broke.
Which is
Because
awesome.
it's the 40th.
It's the
Yeah,
40th.
it's lucky 40.
That's right.
Full moon power.
Something like that, brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday night, 8 p.m., barbershoppodcast.com.
Thank you.